Okay, so the subject we're going to attack today in the Kuzari is, I'm a little bit scared to speak about, and in my opinion is basically the most central subject in the Kuzari, maybe in our faith in general. And the trigger for this concept is Cheta Egel. Just to refocus where we are in the book, the Chaver started to speak with the king on the quality and the meaning of the Jewish nation, of Am Yisrael, to be more focused. And he gave the concept of Shabbat, and he showed the concept of Choser Avodah Zarah, and the concept maybe of morality, of tradition. And now the Kuzari, the king, gives a claim. Not only a claim, he comes with a sharp criticism. Listen carefully. And that's we are Aleph Tzadik Bet. שישמר לך החבר, לבל תפליג בסיפור שבחיה של אומתך, ולבל תסיח דעתך מן הדבר הנודע ברבים, דבר המרותם את אלוהיהם על אף המעמדות האלה. שמוע שמעתי, כי בעצם הימים ההם עשו להם עגל ויעבדו לו, ולא לאלוה. The king comes to the Chaver and tells him what? You spoke about the tradition of Am Yisrael. You spoke of Am Yisrael being the main nation, Am Yisrael having the Shabbat. But we all know the stories, we all know the details. All of us know what actually happened where? What actually happened just after Am Yisrael accepts the Torah. Just in the biggest moment of the nation as a nation. The biggest moment of the nation, Am Yisrael started to worship a different God. To worship Cheta Egel. Worship the Egel. And that's a hard concept. If you want to be more specific, מה זה Egel HaZahav? The golden what? Why? Like, that's obviously the main question is why Dafka Egel Zahav? Why golden calf and not something else? That's a wonderful question. And remember this question because I want afterwards to go back to this point and to focus on, and I think it's critical in an understanding of the Kuzari, but we'll see it soon. So first of all, the Chaver admits, חטא אשר גינו הם עצמם מתוך גדולתם ואין גדול כי מי שחטא ספורים. He says, yeah, they did sin. And the fact that they did sin is what? The fact that they did sin shows to us that, okay, only a person that sins several sins, you mention each sin he basically did. Because if he sins a lot, we don't care. So אמר הכוזרי, אינך אומר כך כי אם דרך הפרזה ומתוך משוא פנים לעמך. וכי יש לך חטא גדול מזה? ומה מעשה טוב יישאר למחר זה? He says, you know what? You're not fair. Why? Because Cheta Egel is not a small deal. Cheta Egel is one of the greatest deals, one of the biggest deals ever. You can't say it's only one sin. You can't say it's only one thing, it's only one detail, because that's not a detail. That is a rule. That's a main concept. So basically we have what? A discussion between the Chaver and the king is asking regarding Cheta Egel, and the Chaver basically now needs to answer. So instead of the Chaver, how you would answer? What you would say? What you would try to explain? איך היינו מסבירים את חטא העגל במקום החבר? מה היינו עושים? What if I would write now the book? What I would do? Okay, so first of all, that's a wonderful thing. Lewis says to explain it's not such a great sin. It's not such a big sin. Actually, the Kuzari does that, but soon, afterwards. What else? What you would do? I would say what? A, it's not a big sin. B, it's not what? It's maybe even to say it's not Am Yisrael that sinned. It's not the entire nation. It's more details, more specific people. Not everyone. Don't say because of 1 or 2 people, even 1,000 people from a nation of millions had sinned, so don't make it everyone. There are weak people everywhere. That's basically that should be the tactics, right? But shocking, that's not the way the Chaver chooses to answer. Now listen to carefully what the Chaver does. קטר לי זעיר והוכיח לך גדולת העם הזה. Wait a second, and I will explain to you the greatness of this nation. ודי לי בעדות שידע התורה כי אותם בחר האלוה לו לעם ולאומה מבין כל אומות העולם, וכי עניין האלוהי חל בכל המונם. עד שנעשו כולם רואים לשמוע את הדיבור האלוהי. ומהם עברה סגולה זו אל נשיהן, כי גם מהן קמו נביאות. ואילו לפניהם לא חל העניין האלוהי, כי מחידים שלהם עברה הסגולה זו מהאדם הראשון. He says, first of all, above all the answer is what? For fact, the Torah still says after Chet HaEgel, that what? That Am Yisrael does have the Inyan Elohi. So you can see from here that what? That Chet HaEgel didn't change the nation in a critical way. But he still didn't explain how. And he says not only didn't change the nation, even the woman became Neviot. A little bit chauvinistic approach over here, but that's fine. Even the woman became Neviot. They also became prophets, not only the males. But again, so he still didn't answer. And now he starts.
But there wasn't before that Neviot?
Before, it seems that not, no. It seems that the first Neviot are oh, so now you're asking a wonderful question. We'll speak about it soon. Wonderful question. האדם הראשון זכה לסגולה זו, כי היה שלם בכל בלא יוצא מן הכלל. כי מה גם אפשר למצוא בשלמות יציר, אשר יצא מתחת יד אומן, גדול וחוכמה וכל יכול, ונוצר מחומר שבחור אומן זה לשם צורה שרצה בה. So the first human being had what? First of all, was created by who? By God. And since he was created by God, he was in some way perfect. He had a perfect body, he had a perfect intellect, and way more than that, what he did have, and the Kuzari defines it over here, Segula zo. He had a Segula. What is this Segula? We don't know. It's hard for us to define what is the Segula Adam HaRishon had. But Adam HaRishon had a Segula. I want to stop for a second. How this Gula of the Adam HaRishon is connected to Chet HaEgel.
He didn't explain.
What?
He didn't explain.
He didn't. But he starts the answer from this Gula. But we can see already that what is connected to each other, the answer to Chet HaEgel is connected to this Gula. Let's go on. And he goes on, כי השלם בכל בלא יוצא מן הכלל, he was perfect. כי מה הפגם אשר אפשר למצוא בשלמות יציר אשר יצא מתחת יד אומן גדול חוכמה וכל יכול. Because what a bad thing you can find in a creation of a creator that is perfect. If a perfect creator creates something, so this creation also will be perfect. ונוצר מחומר אשר בחרו אומן זה לשם צורה שרצה בה. לשמות זו לא הייתה מניעה לא מצד מזג זרעיו ודם האם, ולא מצד הזנחה והטיפוח בשעות היקות והילדות, לא מצד השפעת האוויר, המים וחבל הארץ. כי האדם הראשון מאור אלוה בתבנית איש שהגיע לסוף שנות בחרותו. First of all, the Kuzari says, the Chaver says, the Adam HaRishon was created what? An adult. As an adult. And as a creation, as an adult, he was created already with an intellect of an adult. And therefore, he wasn't affected as a kid by what? He
wasn't abused by his parents.
Not only abused by his parents, he wasn't affected by their hashkafa. 1 second. Again, we can see over here something that is really interesting. Segula, according to that, is connected to the hashkafa. 1 moment. He says, since Adam HaRishon was created as an adult, he has what? That gives him the opportunity to have Segula. And if he would be created as a baby, he wouldn't have the opportunity to have Segula. Was created by God, no? So create Adam HaRishon as a baby and give him. But no, we see over here that being an adult and not being in some way, not being raised in a place that is not perfect and by parents are not perfect, you can't have Segula if you have these conditions, right? At least for Adam HaRishon. Let's go on. שלם בגופו ובנותיו הוא קיבל מאת אלוה, he got from God את הנפש החיונית בשלמותה ואת השכל במעלה העליונה האפשרית לאדם. He got also the spirit, also basically the flesh that was best, and the mind, intellect was best, לפי תכונתו האנושית, ואף את הכוח האלוהי שמעל השכל. But he also got something else. He also got a godly power that is above the intellect, above the mind. רצוני למר, את המדרגה שבהגיעו אליה ידבק האדם באלוה וברוחניים וישיג את המיטות בתחילת המחשבה, בלא עיון ולימוד. What he got? He got the ability to stick, to be connected to the core, to be connected to the roots of chokhmah. To be connected to the root of everything in some ways. To the part that is above the words, above the intellect, to the background of the chokhmah. In some ways, that's God. To be connected to that. And he says, "Lachen nikra Adam harishon etzlenu ben Elohim." That's the reason he's called what? And that's a unbelievable the name of a concept. He's called the Ben Elohim, the Son of God. Who was called the Son of God also in our days? Okay, you see what Rabbi Yehuda Halevi is doing over here? Jesus. You want to know who is the really Ben Elohim? Not Jesus. Adam harishon is the real Ben Elohim. Really interesting. And we'll see soon, like, why is that important? What is this quality Adam harishon had? And all the kids all his children are familiar to him. Nikru bnei Elohim. We're called the sons of God. V'hinei Adam harishon olid banim rabim. He had a lot of children. Ach mikulam lo היה ראוי לבוא במקומו כי אם הבל. Hevel was, for all of his children, actually, how many kids we do here Adam harishon had?
Tons.
What? How many we know by name?
My name too.
Three. Right? Cain, Hevel, and Shet. So he says over here, you need to know. Basically, Adam harishon had a lot of children, but Hevel was the Bachir, the main one. He's picturing over here a picture. He's giving over here a picture that I'm not so sure that it's so. If you read the Pshat Psukim, it's not so simple. Because he basically gives over here the perspective that Adam harishon had a lot of children, and from this children, Hevel was the best. The way we learned it at Gan, at least, also when we read the Pshat Psukim, what we see, he had Cain and Hevel, and Cain killed Hevel, and then Shet came, and then came all the rest, right? That's not the picture he's painting over here. You just need to be aware to that. That's a side note. והנה אדם הראשון הוליד בנים רבים, אך מכולם לא ראוי לבוא במקומו כי אם הבל. כי רק זה היה דומה לו. Only Hevel was what? Familiar to his father. ומשהרגו קין אחיו, מתוך קנאה שנתקנא בו במעלה הזו, Cain was jealous. Why Cain was jealous? Because Hevel was like his father. He looked like his father. He had the same character as his father. ניתן לאדם שת תחת הבל. אדם הראשון got שת instead of הבל. ושת היה דומה לאדם. ולכן נעשהו לסגולת אדם וגרעינו. ואילו שאר הבנים לא היו כי אם קליפות. Shet became what? The Gar'in. What is the Gar'in? We spoke about it a little bit before, right? What's the difference between the Gar'in and to the fruit and the Klippa? The Gar'in has power to do what?
Create, make another one.
To create, to make another one. That's not like the Klippa and not like the fruit, right? The fruit doesn't have the power to create. The Gar'in also gives. The Gar'in has a job to give. That's basically the focus of the Gar'in. Let's go on. בסגולת שת היה אנוש בנו. וכך נמשך העניין עד נוח על ידי יחידים שהיו כגרעינים, כולם דומים לאדם הראשון ונקראים בני אלוהים. וכולם בשירות בגוף ובמידות באריכות ימים, בחוכמה ובכושר המעשה. ולפי ימי חייהם מונים לנו את השנים מאדם ועד נוח. He says, basically I can take a straight line from who? From Adam till... Now, if you want to be honest, if you learn carefully this psukim in the Torah, you see that we can say that what he's saying is true, but it's not so simple. Why it's not so simple? Because we do know on two shoshalot, on two families, big families that we know about in terms of names that came out from Adam, the Shet family. But at the same time, we have also the Cain family. And it seems that you should have had a combination between the two. It didn't work out. The Cain family goes down and down and down and down and down until it gets totally corrupt and basically is destroyed. And also the Shet family is also destroyed in the Mabul. But you do have Shtei Shoshalot. He over here puts it over, from his word, it seems that the place of Shoshelet Cain is like a... It's not central. That's not true if you learn carefully the Torah. If you learn carefully Parashat Bereshit, that's not the case. We only need to be aware. And it says that's the way we got till Noach. וכך היה הדבר גם בדורות אשר מנוח עד אברהם. Also Noach till Avraham. אמנם היה בהם מי שדבק בו העניין האלוהי, ככה למשל תרח. אולם אברהם בנו היה תלמיד לאבי אביו לעבר. גדולה מזאת, הוא הכיר גם את נוח. אברהם was basically the branch after Noach. Through Noach it went down also until Avraham Avinu. Maybe it skipped Terach, but Avraham learned from Ever. It goes on and on and on. כך היה אברהם סגולת עבר ותלמידו, על כן נקרא עברי. Listen carefully. אברהם היה סגולת עבר ותלמידו. One second. Before we had what? Before you had a different definition, right? You had סגולת אדם וגרעינו. We change. It's not already סגולת אדם וגרעינו, it's סגולת אדם ותלמידו. What is the difference? We'll speak about it soon. But we see over here, Avraham, in terms of Avraham, what happens? A change. Something changed. It's not natural. You need to be a Talmid. You need to learn to have this gula. You need to work. Let's go on. ועבר היה סגולת שם, שהיה סגולת נוח, שכן נפלו בראשה ארצות הכנענים הנוחים, שבנמצאתה נמצאת ארץ חמדה, ארץ כנען, היא ארץ הנבואה. Why Shem was סגולת נוח? Shem was סגולת נוח because he got ארץ כנען, ארץ הנבואה. But Yefet and Ham, they didn't got ארץ הנבואה, and that's the reason they are not what? The סגולה. The סגולת אברהם בן בניו היה יצחק. And then I will go on and basically read. We have Yaakov, and then Yaakov, we have the 12 tribes, and then we have Am Yisrael. And that's basically, that's till the end of Piska Tzadik Hey. Kuzari, Rabbi Yehuda Levi over here paints a picture. He creates a picture, creates a system of Segula. A Segula that goes down from generation through generation from who? From Adam HaRishon. I want to remind you guys, he uses the system of Segula as the beginning of the answer to what? To Chet HaEgel. We need to find the connection. We need to try and understand what is a connection. But also when he tries to define over here what is the Segula, and we see that a lot of stuff are being added. A person needs to be smart. Because Adam HaRishon wasn't created with Segula as a baby. They didn't have a Klim and Horim that stopped him from becoming Segula. And they're not only smart, first of all, you need to be a Gar'in, and then you need to give, and then also you need to be also what? A student. It seemed that like in the beginning it was really simple to have what? To have a Segula. It went through from Adam to Shet or to Hevel. But it became more and more and more complicated. You have more stuff that you need to do to gain this Segula, right? And then at the end, it's already Yaakov, and through Yaakov went through to the entire Am Yisrael. The obvious question is, so what happens over here? The Kuzari introduces us to this concept of Segulat Israel. If I want to be honest, this concept of Am as Am Segula, I want to quote Rav Sharki. Rav Sharki says this way: הפילוסוף היהודי צרפתי פרופסור עמנואל לוינס כתב שעל כל אומה גדולה מוטלת החובה המוסרית לראות את עצמה כעם סגולה, התורמת את תרומתה הייחודית לאנושות. הדבר האמור ביתר שאת עבור עם ישראל, שיודעו להיות סגולה מכל העמים. Rabbi Sharki is quoting Professor Levinas. And Levinas claims that every nation needs to look at herself as a Am Segula. It's obviously true regarding Am Yisrael. This nature to look at yourself as Segula is natural. But we need to understand what Segula means in the Kuzari. We don't know. Till now, we know it's something that's connected to a direct line till Adam HaRishon. We know שבמהלך הדרך נוספו תנאים, להיות תלמיד, להיות גרעין, אקלים, right? Shem got it because of the aklim, because of the areas that he lived in. A lot of conditions that are not connected to who? To the person. It's connected mainly to his surroundings. And it's a fascinating concept, especially that it's dictating such a central concept for us, Segulat Israel, us being special, unique, different. And the biggest question is, one second, how Chet HaEgel is connected. When you saw the perspectives on Chet HaEgel and all the commentaries and all the Parshanim, none of them had connected that to the question of Segulat Israel. You want to explain Chet HaEgel, what actually happened, what didn't happen, what did, what was the sin, what wasn't the sin, how Mr. sinned, how Mr. didn't sin, how it's connected to Segulat Israel. So let's go on a little bit more. Let's see what the Kuzari. So the Kuzari answers to the Chaver when it describes him this fascinating concept of Segula. אמר הכוזרי, אכן זאת. היא גדולה נמשכת בכם האדם הראשון. You're right. You have a greatness that in your claim you have from Adam הראשון. שהיה גדול הנבראים אשר בארץ. It was basically the biggest creature that was created in the world. ולפי זה נתחייבה לכם עליונות למעלה מכל אשר נמצא בארץ. According to that you're above all other creations. אבל מה מאותה גדולה נשאר בשעת אותו חטא? But what from this greatness was left after this sin? 1 second. Till now, we learned that the king is an intelligent person. He asks wonderful questions. He is connected to wonderful concepts. He is deep. But over here, I don't know. I want to stop and scream. מלך, מה אתה שואל? החבר רק הסביר לך שהסגולה עוברת מאב לבן. He just explained to you that Segula is what? Is natural. It's genetics in some way. It's not connected to the person. And you come and ask, 1 second, maybe the Segula stopped. We just spoke about it, it's not connected. You see what's my problem was the king's question? You understand? The king is asking, maybe after Chet HaEgel the Segula stopped. But if it's Segula genetics, Segula can't stop. So, how is the king is asking this type of question? Now we need to remember that who wrote the king? Rabbi Yehuda Halevi wrote the king. He wrote, yeah, you're right. I also do this mistake all the time. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, we're so, like, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi is not Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi is the Kuzari. It's like, it's so, when I want to say Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, I don't say Rabbi Yehuda Halevi. I say the Kuzari. Because not a lot of people have this zchut to be called in the name of the book. You have some, but especially not in the words, not in the world of philosophy, not in the world of machshava. Rabbi Yehuda Halevi will always be the Kuzari. That's something that is really interesting. Think about it. No one calls Rasag hanivchar be'emunot ve'deot. Or no one calls Rabbeinu Bachya chovat halvavot. You say, when you want to speak on the book, you say chovat halvavot, but you don't say, but you say also Rabbeinu Bachya. Kuzari is, everyone knows, like, Kuzari is a Kuzari. It's really interesting. You're right, Dalia. But no, Rabbi Yehuda wrote also the king and also the friend. So there's a reason why he's asking this question. He's not stupid. What you can see from here, that the picture that we just painted, we just explained, is not so simple. לא כזה פשוט שהסגולה היא גנטיקה פשוטה. Not so simple to say that Segula is simple genetics, because if it was simple genetics, Chet HaEgel would never stop it. If it started from Adam HaRishon, Chet HaEgel would not stop the genetics. That's another question. He told Hevel looked like his father, was familiar, was the same like his father. It can't be simple genetics. I'll give you a different proof. I don't know if a proof, but a different claim. We all know the concept of gerim, right? What is a ger? Someone that joins Am Yisrael. So it can say that the ger, first generation, is not the same level like Am Yisrael. Why? Because as the Kuzari said, he didn't have the same background of Am Yisrael, didn't have the same parents like Am Yisrael. But the ger, second generation, no one says he's not equal to any other Jew. There's no such concept in Jewish religion. Who has been gerim? Rabbi Akiva ben Gering. No one claims that Rabbi Akiva is not a real Jew. Right? Even not Brandis in a book claims that. So, what happens over here? If you have Gerim, so obviously this Segula is not so simple as something genetics that is passing from generation to generation, generation to generation, generation to generation, till Gdalia Kizhnik. That's not the case. So what is the case? And remember, to answer that is connected to Chet HaEgel in some way. So let's see what Kuzari says on Chet HaEgel. Amar HaChaver.
It could be genetics
And what?
and learning, student.
And if you don't learn?
Then you only have half.
Half.
You only have the potential.
Only potential. And you will not have Segula, you have potential for Segula? So half Segula can get lost. If it's genetics and you are mitchaten with a Goya, not
the case.
Not the case already, but okay. But let's say that someone from somewhere in the States, he goes to a university, he meets a nice girl, she's Korean, a wonderful girl, and they get married. And they have children. The children are Jews? No. But that's genetics. So you say it's genetics that goes through only through the mother. Fascinating, but the word mother, females were not mentioned. 1 second, they were mentioned. Remember carefully when they were mentioned? Nevi'im and Nevi'ot. We'll speak about it afterwards. But fascinating, females were not mentioned in the line over here. So if it's genetics that goes through the females, so I would say the females should be mentioned. But that's not the case. חברים, לא פשוט. זה לא פשוט. There's big bombs. There are a lot of big bombs. It's like I'm feeling that I'm walking like in the minefield. Minefield. I don't know where to put my foot because every place that I will put my foot, something may explode over here. Every movement that we do is raising gazillion more questions. Maybe not gazillion, maybe 1 or 2, but big questions. We can say it this way. So let's see what's happening over here. אמר החבר, העמים כולם בזמן הזה היו עובדי תמונות. In the time of חטא העגל, everyone worships what? Pictures. ואילו באו פילוסופים אל חכמי אומה אחת, והביאו בפניהם ראיה על אחדות האלוה ועל ריבונותו, אי אפשר היה לחכמים אלו בלי שיאחדו תמונה, אליה אפשר לכוון בעבודת האלוה, ובלא שמעו לעמם ולהמונם, כי תמונה הזו ידבק בה עניין אלוהי, וכי מוחה בתכונות נפלאות ומופלאות. תכונות אלו יש מייחסים אותן למקור אלוהי, כמו שאנו נוהגים כיום במקומות המקודשים בעינינו, שאנו רואים גם באפרם אבני מקור ברכה, ושמייחסים אותן לרוחניות אחד הכוכבים או המזלות, או לתלסמאות וכדומה. כך לא הסכימה זה המון לשום תורה, אינו נקשר בדמיונו, עם תמונה מוחשת שאפשר לכוון אליה. First of all, he says, back then, everyone did what? Worshipped pictures, idols. That was the natural thing to do. Even when philosophers will come and say there's one God, so say, no problem, let's take this book and let's say this book is connected, is the image of, is the one God. Only one, but there is the one God. What the Kuzari, what Rabbi Yehuda didn't do over here? What the Chavar didn't do over here? He didn't said what? First of all, he didn't answer the question. And second, didn't say what? One moment. There's no connection between the Segula, the Segula stopping to Chet HaEgel. In some way, he accepts the question of the king, and he said, you know what? Your question is good. Chet HaEgel had potential to stop the Segula. What he does, he over here explains how Chet HaEgel doesn't stop the Segula. But if all the conditions of Chet HaEgel were fulfilled, the Segula would actually what? Stop. Do you understand the meaning over here? In some ways, the Chaver admits to the king. And he says, Tatzodek. היה חשש, היה סיכוי שהסגולה, סגולת ישראל תיפסק. היה סיכוי כזה. There was a chance, חטא העגל was a case that was really close. But he says, you know what? Now he explains why it's not. But from the fact that he explains why it's not, you can see what? שיש סיכוי שכן. Wow. That's a bomb. That's something that we need to be sensitive. Then he goes on. והנה בני ישראל לפעמים מובטח להם כי יורד עליהם מאמא אלוה דבר מה. אשר יראו וכוונו אליו. בני ישראל knew that they're going to get something from God. כשם שכיוונו בצאתם ממצרים אל עמוד הענן ועמוד האש. The same way they did what? They focused on עמוד הענן ועמוד האש. שהיו מסתכלים בהם ומכבדים אותם ופונים אליהם ומשתחווים נכחה לאלוה יתברך. They would look, they would respect, they would bow. ומששמעו בני העם את הדיבור האלוהי בעשרת הדיברות, ומשה עלה אל העם מתוך תצפייה ללוחות הכתובים אשר יוריד אל העם ולארון, אשר יראה בהר למען יעשה כתבניתו לעם. והיה להם דבר נראה לעין, עיניו יכוונו, ובארון הברית האלוהית, הבריאה החדשה ושברי האלוה הרצוני, לומר שני הלוחות. עכשיו אלה הענן שיחסה את הארון, והאור האלוהי והמויפטים שהיו בעבורון נשארו, עומדים ומצפים לראות את משה. באותה רוממות שבה יהיו ביום מעמד הר סיני. בני ישראל said what? Soon enough, what's coming? An image. You knew. They knew Moshe has tablets. They knew Moshe Rabbeinu has tablets. You ever thought about the option? I need to say that the first time I said tablet. Interesting. They knew Moshe Rabbeinu came with two iPads. And Steve Jobs stood in the background. They knew Moshe Rabbeinu had tablets. You heard this joke already once, no?
Yeah, it was a comic.
Okay, I always thought I'm original. They knew Moshe Rabbeinu had tablets. They knew because Zaron, according to some, the way you read the Torah, was built already, it will be in Zaron. They knew that the cloud, the mist, will be connected to the Aaron. They knew all these facts. They waited. It's easier. Think about it. You live in a world where everyone has a symbol for their God. What's why Misa wanted a symbol? A symbol, not a God, a symbol. אולם משה נשאר בהר 40 יום. אם כי לא לקח איתו צידה לדרך. Moshe stayed in the mountain 40 days. He didn't take a small detail, they didn't take food. ולא נפרד מהם. He didn't say goodbye. ויקראו לך מנת נשאו בו ביום. And it looked like he's leaving. They didn't know he would go for 40 days and 40 nights. It looked like he was leaving for what? For 20 minutes. For one day. And they're waiting 40 days, 40 nights. אז גברה על אכזבה אצל אחדים מבני עמון הרב ההוא. They were really disappointed. אותה שעה, now listen carefully to what I'm saying right now. התחיל העם להיחלק לכיתות. They had a lot of what? Branches. כי רבו בני עמדות השמאלות. They had a lot of opinions, they had a lot of thoughts. This one says this way, this one says this way. בסוף הרגישו אחדים מהם צורך לבקש להם נאבל. Some of them said at the end, what? We need to have something. שיוכלו לפנות אליו ככל האומות. We can look on, like all the nations. אך הם לא כיחשו בעולותו שמוציאם מארץ מצרים. They didn't say that one God didn't take us out of Egypt. הם ביקשו רק כי יהיה איתם תמיד נאבד מוחש אליו יוכלו לרמוז ידי ספרם לפנות אליהם. They wanted an image, they can look in the image and focus. כאשר עשו זאת לימים, אותם המאמינים שבאותם יתרון אשר עשה משה קראו הנה אלוה. In Bamidbar it seems that people looked on the Aaron and it says, here's Eloah. וכמו שאנו עושים כיום ברומזנו לשמיים. Think about it, Kuzari says something. When we say God, we do a lot of times this way. What do I mean this way? The sky is God? No, but that's a symbol. That, over there, like, we need to have a direction. We're human beings. ולכל דבר שתמנעת אצלנו כתנועתו אינה כי ברצון אלוה בלבד. לא במקרה, לא ברצון אדם, לא בכוח מכוחות הטבע. חטאת העם הייתה יפרוק בזה שעשו להם תמונה, דבר שנאסר עליהם, ובזה שיחסו כוח, לא הדבר שעשו בידיהם מרצונם. בלי אשר בא על כך מצוות האלוה. Think about it. What is the difference between the Egel and the Aaron? What is the difference? The Egel was created by man and the intentions of man, and the Aaron was created how?
By God's commandment.
But by man also. Small detail. God commandment. We'll see soon why this detail is important. And he goes on, כל חטא העגל לא הייתה איפה יציאה מעבודת אל מוציאה ממצרים, כי מעבירה על אחת למצוותיו. He still didn't answer why a egel. And over here I want to start. What? I would say even more than that. Who is the egel? You know what? What is Segula? Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit. When we learn in Segulat Israel, how the Kuzari said what Segulat Israel gives? What does Segula gives? 2 words. Inyan Elohi. Godly interest. What is this godly interest? This godly interest is a claim. And I think we spoke about it already, right? It's a claim that God shows interest, or God has an interest in the life of who? Men. Human beings. God has interest in human beings, in their actions, in their behavior, in their sins, in their mitzvot, in their bad parts, in the good parts. For some reason, yesh inyan, God cares. לא יודע למה. באמת שאלה טובה. במקום אלוקים לא הייתי מתעניין, אבל אלוקים מתעניין. I wouldn't show any interest, but he does. I don't know why, but he shows the interest. This Segula is a claim. Is this point, when you have Segula, you are the symbol that what? That the one God that doesn't have a body, that is not created by men, that is one and united, Echad Yechid Miyuchad, has the interest in what? In physical bodies, in the world, in life as life. That's basically the Inyana Elohim. Who was the main proof of that in the beginning? Adam. Then who was the proof? Shit. Why shit was the proof? Why Heaven was the proof? I think it's natural. It's natural that when someone has a tchuna, has a character, has basically character, it goes to his child, right? It goes on. But then the child can do 2 different things. He can live it, or he can crush it. Go again. You can lose it. You obviously can lose it. Doesn't mean that you don't give it in tradition, in genetics to your child, right? You do give it to your child, but what happens if after generation and generation, you move to a different land and you eat different food? Today, in terms of modern day psychology, do you give it in tradition? I'm not so sure. Torah can't stop. The root, it's there, but as a real thing, it can stop. You always can join to this idea, and for your child it will be already natural. You always can join inside, and you can create your own genetics. You can create your own interests that will go on and on and on. But you always can leave. If you don't learn, you don't study. If you don't live in the correct place, there's more chances it will get lost. Right? And we all see it every day. But that's not the point. The point is, what happens when you go totally against this interest? What happens when you go totally against this point? When Am Yisrael went totally against this point, by saying what? Why? You know how so? By creating a muchash, they basically said what? God doesn't show enough interest to tell us to create something we can focus to. He doesn't show interest in materialistic stuff. So therefore we will do what? We will create. So the חבר comes and says, one second, רק רגע, אתה צודק לחלוטין, יש פה בעיה גדולה. אבל הנקודה הזאת זה לא מספיק. Because they still did do what? They still did believe in the God. They still did believe that God does care. They want an easier way to connect to Him. But they still did believe. Chet HaEgel shows us a study case. What is Gulat Israel? Chet HaEgel is teaching us what is this point of Gulat Israel inside. And now I want to go maybe to the tip. Why Egel? Lama Egel? Lama lo mashu acher? Rav Kook says in Midbar Shur, and also in the Misped B'Yerushalayim, that there are two main powers. You all know that already, right? You heard it from me several times. Two main powers in the nation. יש את הכוח של יהודה ואת הכוח של ישראל. How we are called? Are we called Am Yehudim? No. We are called Israel. How this Segula is called Segulat HaYehudim? No. The Kuzari speaks about Segulat Israel. Why he speaks about Segulat Israel? What was Yosef? Yosef is a symbol of Israel. Yosef was a shul, right? Egel. Nachon? That is Yosef. What is Yosef? Yosef is the power to show that God is not only in the book, but He is where? Everywhere. That God has an interest in the way you dress. You need to dress nice. You need to have nice hair, not like me right now. I need to have nice hair. I need to make money. I need to have great business. I need to take care of the poor people. God shows interest in everything, in my dreams. That is Yosef. When they create Dafka and Egel, what do? It still shows this point that God is what? Shows interest in everything. But they say, you know what? We need to create a symbol. They didn't have, the faith wasn't strong enough yet. מה זה הסגולה לפי זה? You want to tell me הסגולה is genetics? Yes and no. It is genetics because it's something that goes on in tradition. We believe from Adam HaRishon. It went down in tradition. Can you lose it? Yes. You can leave the nation. You can join a nation that doesn't believe in that, and then you lose it. When you become Christian, you don't believe that God has interest in everything you do. God has an interest inside the church, not outside the church. The church is the house of God, not nothing else. Right? Like, it's basic. I don't need to teach you. God doesn't have an interest in sex because He doesn't. And that's the reason you become a monk. Like, it's stuff that we heard already. Islam, just say, like, that's not. In Islam, God doesn't have any point in the independence of the human being. Yes, you leave the nation, you leave the nation. You lose this Segula. Your children definitely do not have this Segula already. Because they're part of a different nation. It's simple. You can join the nation, and you can gain this Segula, because if your children, you accept it on yourself, and for your children it's natural, they got it from zero, and their children for me will be supernatural, and they will have it, and they will pass it to their children, and that's really also that's Segula. Segulat Israel is a power that came from Adam HaRishon, that it's not a simple power. It's the power to admit, to teach and learn the entire world exactly at this point. That there is interest, God has an interest everywhere. In everything. בכל העולם יש אלוקים עניין. A lot of people say שהכוזרי ממעט בחטא העגל. הוא אומר, זה לא חטא כזה גדול. אני אומר שזה לא נכון. כוזרי לא ממעט בחטא העגל. He doesn't suppress. He doesn't push us down the greatness of the sin. He says, אתם לא מבינים, this sin is the greatest ביטוי of סגולת ישראל. It's not Am Yisrael going against סגולת ישראל. It's Am Yisrael not understanding till the end their job of Segulat Yisrael. Sometimes when Am Yisrael goes totally against, you can get lost. Segulat Yisrael can. But that's not the case over here, Chet. You can lose Segulat Yisrael. Genetics do not stand for everything. But that's not the case. Chet Egel is a proof to Segulat Yisrael. Is a proof for the interest of the nation in Segulat Yisrael. It's not simple. I'm not sure that I was capable to clarify till the end what is Segulat Yisrael over here. Not to myself, I'm not sure if to you. But I think that now we have a hint what it means. An idea. Remez. What is the point? What is the point? Why is it so important that a Jew will marry a Jewish girl? Why? Because we have over here two people that in some way were raised with this somewhere back in their mind. Doesn't matter how not religious, how not from, how not, that they were raised with this idea of, in their culture, that God shows interest in everything. When a Jew doesn't marry a Jew, what happens? A weak culture meets that a Jew didn't marry a Jew, because obviously if he marries not a Jew, his culture is weak, is meeting a different type, and the next generation will get lost already. Our job as a nation is to show exactly this point to the entire world. Sheben Adam Chashuv. Human being is important. The actions of a human being are important. For some reason God cares. The human being is the center of creation. מרכז העולם הוא האדם. וכל פעולה של האדם היא חשובה. לא משנה במה, באומנות, בספורט, באהבה, בספרות, in movies, הכל, everything is important. Because in everything God shows interest. But it's not only tactics. It's not only movies are important because that's a way to explain God better. Oh, זה לא הסיפור, that's not the case. Movies are important because the Kadosh Baruch Hu מראה עניין he's interested. I don't know why, but יש עניין אלוהי. He is interested. That's our job, to teach everyone this point. אבל זה הולך לאיבוד. זה הולך לאיבוד. צריך מאוד להיזהר מהנקודה הזאת. And I think that's the main thing. I think that's the most important point that we learned till now regarding the Kuzari. This idea of Segulat Yisrael that goes on from generation to generation. This culture, this habit, this even it's a genetic deal that for some way, because for so much time it came from Adam HaRishon, that some people can teach, can experience the interest of God in everything. That's us. That's our job. That's our point. That's our place. Chas v'chalila shelo yevad.